Happy Halloween, everybody! Today I wanted to make a special video like I said yesterday. I'm going to make a Salt and Sanctuary video, but for today's video we're going to talk about the classes of the game from worst to best. Now, a little disclaimer before I actually start. 1. This is obviously my opinion based on my experiences with all 8 classes, so don't get too salty, even though I'm pretty sure most of you are going to get mad anyway, or at least maybe half of you, hopefully. And 2nd, I actually beat the game with all 8 classes, so no matter what class you pick, you can actually beat the game. And if you can't, then I guess you suck. By the way, I'm only counting solo, not co-op. So without further ado, let's begin. So at number 8, we have the Chef. Obviously, the troll class of the game would be the worst. Okay, I know this is technically a blank state character and you're capable of doing anything you want, but it's just this character has the weakest early game out of all of them. And although mid-game you get way better, it's just the early game is kind of ridiculous. Plus, you'll be grinding twice as much, so that's actually a big problem. But yeah, I don't think this surpasses any other classes. So, number 7, we have the Paladin. I don't really like this class. I'll be honest. I think this class is basically a one-trick pony. This class only works with strength builds. Nothing else. You can't use dex because you have to sacrifice either strength or endurance. You can't go a whole wisdom build because then you have to sacrifice strength. Basically, the fact that you can only go one build with this class already hampers it massively. Plus, I don't think anybody likes this class anyway, so I don't think this is a problem. Number 6, we have the Hunter. I know this one is the worst to destroy or kill the Unspeakable Deep tutorial boss. However, I think overall this class is actually pretty solid. You can make a solid dex build with light armor, and you can just like kind of go through the game easy. You don't actually have to use whips or crossbows, but I think this class is actually pretty okay. The only weakness I can really see with this class is some enemies and some bosses will give you more of a hard time, but overall not too bad. Number 5, we have the Pauper. I think this is the most perfect placement for the Pauper. Basically a better chef in general. Also a blank character, so you can kind of build anything you want. But the reason why I'm valuing it a lot higher is because Pauper's kind of just strong overall. You have a very strong early game with the weapons you have, and then you can build upon that during mid and late game, and you're just really strong. The only reason why it's only at 5 and not higher is because the other 4 classes above it kind of surpass it slightly. But yeah, very good spot. Number 4, we have the Mage. This is possibly my most controversial pick out of all of them on the list. I looked at forums and stuff, and a lot of people say that Mage is like number 1 or like most broken. I will admit you can make the most broken build with this class. However, I don't value it as number 1. For 1, it's the hardest class to learn in the game. 2, your build is the most crucial thing for a mage. If your build isn't that good, you are not going to kill anything. And although you can cheese half the bosses and kill them easy, the other half of the bosses can kill you instantly, and plus you're the most frail class in the game. Basically getting 2-shot by any boss kills you. I'm sorry, I don't value it as so highly, but I definitely think it surpasses the other 4 classes easy. But I think the other 3 that are left surpasses it slightly. So number 3, we have the Cleric. I know some of you are going to question, why is the Cleric so high? Well, let me tell you. If you want to do a prayer/wisdom build, then this is the class you have to use. Also, since you only specialize in prayers, not specific weapons, you literally can pick anything you want. And also the prayers are very useful. You have ones that can light up in dark areas, you have a mend that can heal you, you have an ability that does massive amount of damage, and you also have an ability to embed your weapons in holy damage. You know what this does? This basically gives you consistent bonus damage when you fight bosses, and since most bosses get affected by holy damage, you don't have any sort of weakness. The only weakness I can really say is if you don't pick the right weapons, or if your build sucks, but that's kind of it. And since you don't specialize in any weapons like I mentioned, you can literally pick any weapon you want. That's really good, and I'm just so torn because the Cleric is only 3rd. Number 2, the Knight. I know most of you are kind of upset that the Knight is so high. Let me explain. Basically, the best class to do strength builds in general. And yes, although you also start with shields, I don't really use shields because I'm not sure if they're that really valuable. Maybe I'll go back and test them. Also, you can kind of just pick anything you want since most weapons in the game work well with the Knight anyways. Plus, you can kill most bosses easy. Yeah, only number 2, but there's one class that completely surpasses it, and I think it's also the most underrated in the game. Number 1, the Thief. Any fans of Salt and Sanctuary should not be shocked on this placement, especially since the lethality of the Thief is very underrated in the community. For starters, this is the best class for dexterity in general. And since you specialize with daggers, which is actually a really good weapon for dexterity, all you would need to do is get a strength weapon and you're kind of just set for the entire game. This is the best class to kill bosses. You kill bosses easy with little difficulty. You just steamroll everything in this game. And also, plus, this is the easiest class in the game to learn, so this should definitely be your first one you pick. So there you go. That's the classes from worst to best. So don't take this with too much salt, and obviously this was my opinion. I'm definitely going to do more Salt and Sanctuary content in the future. But until then, thanks for watching.